Page 72, Waltz Opus 69, number 1. Pickup beat. We'll talk about the right hand first. We're going back and forth between triple and duple counting, so this is a good piece for that kind of exercise. It's 1 and a 2 and 3 in, 1 and a 2 and 3 in. Sometimes it's 1 and a 2 and a 3 in, 1 and a 2 and a 3 in, but you got to be able to count, switch back and forth instantly. All piano players got to do it. You'll do it. It comes. Give it a little time. But at the beginning, 3 and 1 and a 2, 3. It helps a little bit that the left hand is playing quarter notes and they can keep the beat for you. I hope. Their fingering is fine in the first line. Just follow that. And the second line is 2-1. They're saying 2. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. You can, if you want, put a third finger on the B. Doesn't matter. But fourth finger for the last measure there. And that 2 E's. The last note of the second line is an E. The first note of the third line is an E. 1, 2. I like that. We'll get that in other places. That's a good fingering. Then just lift up. You can use third finger if you don't mind putting a little finger. If you don't mind up in here, you can get away with that too. Otherwise, their fingering works better. Last line here. I like that fingering. And at the bottom of the page, this is a little awkward, but the black notes are getting in the way. It's 2 on 2, and it's 1 and a 2 and a 3, Adam, and then a dotted rhythm. Oh goody. And with that dotted rhythm, rather than counting out 3 E and da, 3 E and da, which is what it is, feel it. 3 and badam. It is just a short note. And it is a G sharp. Because we had a G sharp earlier in the measure. I mean, the last G we had in the measure was a sharp, therefore it's the one that counts. Top of page 73 we've had before. Second line on page 73 here. There's nothing wrong with the fingering of the book, but I want to suggest a fingering that I think will do you better as time goes on. And that is, instead of 1, 2, 1, you do a 1, 4. You're using all the fingers like that, and it's used in turns a lot. Real quick one. This fingering is used in turns a lot. So why not use it here? It's the same thing. It really is a turn. It's 1, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just forget the rhythm and get the notes. And the fingering. And then you can put the rhythm back in. 1 and a 2 and 1 and a 2. And everywhere else we get it in this piece, I'm going to recommend the same fingering. Because it works here. It doesn't work on all of them, like on page 72 it didn't work very well. But here it does. At the end of the line. And again, this thing, same fingering, 1, 4. 1, 4, 3, 2. Now here, rather than 1 immediately, like they've got a 1 on that A, use third finger on the first A, and then a thumb. Because you got 2 A's there. So this is the third line down. 1, 4, 3, 2, 3, 1. So it's 1 and a 2 and 3 and 1 and if your hand's big enough, fourth finger on the A. If the hand's not that big, then you've got to use a little finger and then come up. But if your hand is big enough, fourth finger's better, so you can play it all legato. And then the next measure, their fingering is a little awkward. I don't recommend it. I recommend you here, then 4, bring the third finger down, bring the second finger down, and bring the thumb down. I got them all, and I don't have to cross over the thumb. Like that. I think that works much better, especially at a faster speed. Now this is not a fast waltz, but nevertheless we can use the fingering. It's so that, and you're going to get this in several places. Same fingering every time is what I recommend. And then we have it again, 4. But here it's not even eighth notes on the second beat. We got a dotted rhythm. He switched it. This is where the 3-1 comes in real handy, because it's easier to do that quickly than to play 2 here. That gets so. In the last line we're back to even eighth notes on the second beats. Same fingering. By the time you played this a few times, you actually start to get the hang of it, really. And on page 74, same thing. Second measure, play it with the 3rd finger and then substitute the 5th finger. That's what the 3-5. And then come up and then lift up. New phrase. And then again, 4, 3, 2, 3, 1. So it's the same thing we've had before. We're just going to play this passage, this motif, a few more times. I don't know why exactly, but that's okay. Got to watch out because of the dotted rhythms. They stick in occasionally, so play it exactly. Don't just assume it's going to be the same as it was. 3rd line down, last measure. Thumb, and then last line. And then here, if you want, they're fingering. Or you can keep this 4-3-2 thing going. 4, 3, 2, 1. Same difference. If you want to use the same fingering, I recommend 3rd finger on the last note, because at the top of page 75, even though you have a quarter rest, we like to feel it without looking, and you can reach that next note more easily. And they're saying 2. That's okay. You can also use 3 there if you want. But on the 3rd measure over, you need a 4th finger on that A. So 1 and 2 and 3. So you can get that part, you can get that part. The last line down here. And then again, 4, 3, 2. So that 1, 4, 3, 2 on all those little passages comes in a lot of, you get a lot of good practice at that. The left hand is just supporting. Keep the left hand soft. It's a lot of broken chords, but the notes may not be what you think they are. Remember, this is Chopin. He has some interesting harmonies. So just play it all legato. The right hand has phrasing. The left hand doesn't. Keep it legato. And so forth. And that's really about all there is for the left hand. It's just these broken chords. Just transfer weight from one note to another and keep them softer than the right hand. Then go put the hands together very slowly. If you want to use that 1, 4, 3, 2, that works here also. Third line down on page 72, it's the last measure here. Come up here and then come off. It's the end of a phrase. Each one of these ba-da. Let's go on down. Now you're going to repeat that. You got first and second endings, and hopefully you know how those work. I don't think I need to explain that, I hope. If I do, you really need to go to the method book and go through it, where it teaches all that stuff. Third line down, it's just, you're going to get this pattern quite a bit. hand is changing notes, the right hand isn't, so just be really careful of the hands together to make sure you got it right. I may be going a bit fast, so you take it slow, like at the top of page 74, you go real slow. Lift up there in the right hand, this new phrase. Well, let me explain a little bit about practicing new pieces. When you start putting the hands together, actually even when you're working out one hand at a time, you're not so concerned about a steady beat. That beat goes on thing. Right now we're kind of interested in sort of what the rhythm is and trying to get the hands together. Like here on page 74 in the second line, starting with the second measure. Let's hear. If I have to hesitate and stop and think and see what am I doing, it's a 3-1 in the right hand. That's okay. While you're working this out, you can hesitate, don't worry about a steady beat at this point. We're just trying to get it together because you're going to go over it again and again and again, and you will slowly work out these hesitations, so eventually it will be a steady beat. That's where you're after eventually. You don't have to have it right up front. As you're learning it, you take it slow and easy and in steps. You don't perform it right off the bat unless you're sight reading it. In that case, yes, the beat goes on. Miss all the notes you want to in a sight reading, but don't screw up the rhythm. That takes us all the way pretty much through the whole thing. It's just really that sort of thing all the way through. You just have to work on getting the hands together. Now, let's add the pedal and the dynamics and the rest of this stuff. Now, when you're learning it, of course, you're going to do these things one at a time, I hope. You get the articulation, you can add the dynamics. Do the pedal last. Learn it because you want to hear everything clearly, so always do the pedal last. So this video doesn't last 4 hours. I'm going to kind of combine them all into one shot. So we're going to do the dynamics and a little interpretation and the pedal and all that all at the same time. Now at the beginning of this, they're suggesting throughout this piece pretty much legato pedal. Well, they're keeping it simple for you, and if you're not listening too carefully, that sounds okay. So if I pedal it the way they're showing, it sounds like this. Now keep in mind it's soft. Right hand soft, left hand is very soft. If that sounds okay to you, go for it. I don't care for it. I'm going to adjust it a little bit. And that is, I'm only going to pedal the first beat or so of each measure. I'm not pedaling the last beat. I'm lifting up and letting the sound die away, so it's here. Right there, I lift it up. Here, I lift it up. I'm just not pedaling the third beat is all. I just like the cleanness of that. It's an interpretive thing. That pedaling is suggestions. The markings in the book are suggestions. Everything I'm talking about are suggestions pretty much. So it's up to you ultimately. What sound do you like? You have to really learn it well enough that you can actually listen to what the sound really is, and you're not so engrossed in the mechanics of it. Then it could, or record yourself and listen to the recording. That's an experience. So at the beginning, as I said, soft. You have to decide what that is. It's sweet. It's moderato. It's not fast or slow, somewhere in the middle. But keep the left hand out of the way. And I tend to Put in a little swells here, get a little louder, a little softer. It's a feeling thing, and that's really kind of the last thing that happens when you're learning a piece. You get to know it really well first, so you can start feeling it, and then you feel the dynamics, is what I'm saying. Second line. Come down. Medium loud, so that we're going to play that again, but now we're a little loud, not loud, just sort of loud. Try and interpret it a little different the second time. When you repeat something like this, don't play it exactly the same that second time. The dynamics can alter. You can do your little swells in different places or whatever. Just do it a little different. Pedal it a little differently. Something's different when you do it again. For the sake of the video, let's go on. Third line, or the pickup to the third line there on page 73. We're here. See, now they're showing don't pedal. I wouldn't pedal it anyway, it's the third beat of the measure. And now we're loud. Now, people will tend to speed this part up. It's an interpretive thing. There's nothing in the music that says speed it up. But if you listen to recordings or the professionals play it, they will tend to speed this up a little. Don't play it fast. There's nothing in this waltz that's fast, so it's just here. It's up to you, but it's a little more exciting here. It's just we hear this motif so many times, we don't want to hear it exactly the same way every time. You got to change something. Change how you feel it. You can't do much with a rhythm. The rhythm's given to you, but you can change the dynamics a little bit, or change the pedaling a little bit, or the interpretation, something about it. That's top of page 73, 74. Where am I? Top of page 74. Keep up. See right there in the second measure, page 74. I'm going to lift up with the right hand, it's a new phrase, but not the left hand. And I lift the pedal up with the right hand. I don't even pedal some of these measures here. But why pedal that? Maybe you like it. It's a different feeling, and sometimes maybe you'll pedal it, and other times maybe you won't. That's one of the changes you can do. And we keep doing this. Now get down toward the bottom of page 74. The last line, you see the retardando and then a decrescendo. We're loud on all this, and now we're just going to slow down a little bit. Last line. And then a tempo means resume the tempo you were doing before you changed it, which is the retardando. So whatever tempo I was here, slow down, and now it's a medium loud. We just came down a little bit. It's more like it was at the beginning. We, with different atmosphere. Okay. We're back to that again. And that takes you down to on page 75, third line down here. Now poco retardando here. And again, I don't pedal the last beat. I want to clear that out before I go on. We're just hesitating on this. It's not really what we'd call a retardando, and it's more accurately would be called rubato, where you're giving and taking of the speed. There's different kinds of rubatos. I won't get into it, but here you gotta feel that. Don't just say one and two and three and. Feel it. And I tend to get a little louder on that, but, and then all tempo. And And then you have a retardando at the end. And I also get softer there. And then at the end, the hands and the pedal come up at the same time. You don't have to let it die away on this. It's not that schmaltzy, but it is a lovey-dovey type emotional experience once you get past all the mechanics. And it's a wonderful piece.